What in the world is actually happening with Memento? Make sure you guys smash the link right by that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. I love taking a look at the fundamental differences between the TCG and the OCG and the ideas and the decks that we have, the fundamental levels of power creep that come with this. And of course, we can kind of see set order releases out here impacting things. And Momento has been one of these very, very few decks out here that has kind of broken what I'm going to say is the mold out here for, patterns and things to what you can typically follow. Now, most of the OCG kind of agrees that in their format, Memento feels like it is typically in the top 4 of the best decks. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, there are two key differences between the TCG and the OCG version of this deck. The first one being Maxx C. And I guess, as Memento does kind of climb up through its ladders, through the graveyard, accessing its different bodies and things like that, a well-timed Maxx C should be able to punish that. But no, because with Maxx C present in the meta, the deck's actually performing better in the OCG than it is in the TCG. So Maxx C is a 0 factor on the punishing side of this deck. Meanwhile, Maxx C might get it some resources, but that's not that. So then it comes down to our is Apollousa that big of a difference? Does a 1 rank 4 give this deck that much of a difference in card pool between the TCG and the OCG? And it must be Apollousa, right? Like, that has to be the case. Well, it makes a strong end board, yes. It gives you the ability, I think, it's like an Apollousa and like a possible toggle into an SP, I believe. So you're getting a couple negates, but I don't think that's the case either. So what about, Dimension Shifter? They have Shifter at 2, so maybe that's the case versus R3, having 3 Shifters present in our meta, maybe that's punishing the deck. No, I don't think Shifter's, appearance in the meta is making a difference on its impact at all, because you've got Malice running around. If you Shifter a Malice player, they're going to snark at you, they're going to go, okay, kid. Yeah, So anyway, I started comboing, and they're like, and like at that point in time, you're twerking out, and you're just like, okay, so there's that. But what is? I think the thing that has definitely made the difference is kind of I'm going to call it the Dragoon effect. People typically, especially I want to say in like the OCG, they like to clutch on to these strategies that are sometimes very, very win more. Well, I guess I can't even say that in terms of the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon thing, because it was every deck out here playing Red Eyes Dark Dragoon that could possibly play it at the time. Like, if I can play Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, I'm going to play, I'm going to win with it. So you kind of come out here to Memento, and you look at the way that this deck works in the OCG. Most of the builds have cut the, the Goblin Cage stuff, the little tribute to monster, bring out the goblin guy from the deck. Most of the builds have cut that. And they're like, we don't need this stuff. So, okay. I am, honestly, in comparison to their list, I feel like their list feels worse than the TCG version of the deck. So, judging by our most recent tournament data that we had, I think it was like a week or two ago, from Momento. I think Momento was, in terms of regional data, it was the eighth deck on the list of the top 10. So it's topping, it's doing well, it's performing on our side of the game for sure. But the problem is I kind of feel like our power ceiling right now is a little bit higher than the OCG. So when I say that, you've got Rizal, Malice, which the OCG just lost Rizal by pushing it down to B tier, which is really funny because even before Rizal was pushing up, or Rizal was falling, Momento was already still, clucking around in the top 5. So even last format, we still had results backing up that statement for that. And then, of course, with the shift around, and they've also now got Orcust kind of coming back into the fray. I mean, having a 5K that can kind of just plop itself back out of the graveyard and go, hi guys, how are you? And also kind of like every little piece of your deck just kind of floats back around. And I guess the other big difference is does Abyss Dweller, was the loss of Dweller all that? No. Look, all right. There was like maybe 1 to 2 interactions that Dweller mattered against that deck, but rolling the infinite Abyss Dwellers into Memento was not something that was happening. All right, like, unless my end board is like a Duo Drive, a Dreadnator, an Abyss Dweller, and another 4th Exceed would be the only time I'd be, maybe like a Light Dragon at Ignister, and I'd just be like, why did I put this much on the field? Anyway, point here though is that's a lot of gas to have in order to do that. And like, it's not even worth it to make the Dweller to stop like the wretched ghost in the attic from, or the ghast from even resolving. I think that's I think the only interaction that really matters. So at that point in time, and also dealing with a TCG end board for Memento, it's what, like, you got the combined creation king with like an interruption or two. You got the big 5K guy with the potential revive, and then it kind of comes down to, what flavor of back row trap card that you want to play. Now, I think the big difference here in our formats between these two is the TCG. We are in such an extreme hand trap format right now that I think that's the thing that's actually kind of putting us down. Now, I did mention at the beginning of the video that, Maxx C does exist in the OCG, but the OCG, I don't think, has these builds that are running around out here with 18 to 24 hand traps. You have versions of that very much being the case, but like in the TCG, for example, we love Draw and Lockbird. We will absolutely smash our heads against the wall and go, Draw and Lockbird, good card. Very good, very good. Yeah. Like, and then, of course, on the opposite side of the spectrum out here, you have the idea of, oh, hey, Nibiru, me throw a big space rock at Momento player. Oh, you don't have that Appaloosa to set up for that little protection. Now the space rock is just ending your turn for you. All right, those are the fact that we have such a brain dead, turn off your head approach to the sheer amount of hand traps that we're throwing out here. And, TCG players will just be like, oh, okay, cool, so you're playing Memento. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toss a Paruli at you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toss this at you. Okay, yeah, cool, you can bring out from your graveyard. You can kind of cycle through these options. Yeah, sure, that's all fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, while you're getting somewhere, you don't have that end board protection, which means every brain intensified, amazing Yu-Gi-Oh player with their cranium so bright, they're just going to go, oh, hey, anyway, so at the end of your combo, Nibiru, and you're just like, oh, yeah, okay. Or you get drooled. Both of those cards have equally as devastating impact on the, place out here. Now, I'm not saying that Memento is a bad deck. What I'm trying to say here is it's one of those rare cases that you have a deck that is performing so well in the OCG that when you shift on over here to the TCG, it's here, but it's not as such a demonstratingly, or such a strong position as it is in the other meta. And I love that idea. I love the fact that we can see such big differences in our games exist. And, it does make me genuinely think that Momento someday is going to wake up in the TCG and everybody's going to be like, see, I told you Momento was a good deck. And I await for that day to come. I really, really do. I love to see key differences like this kind of coming to fruition, and we get the chance to see, the big monsters clash around. That's what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Such a fun and amazing game, honestly. You have all that cool excitement going forward, and I'm very curious to see where Memento will settle in the future. But for now, I want to ask your guys' opinion. What do you think about Memento? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Are you guys looking forward to the potential of Memento, or is this just going to be one of those things just going to go off into the sunset? You guys have a good rest of your day, all right? Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.